Okay, GM1 and all, welcome to our retrospective for August 6th, 2025. It's been about 8 months. We did our last one in January, and that was like kind of right after we finished the whole accelerator with Octant. So thought it was a good time to do one. So let me take a quick attendance here. Links, Arcusty is here, NF Thinker is here. Shelby is here, Drost is here, and Winverse is here. All right, great. Before we get into the retrospective, let's do, and thanks for reminding me for this, Arcusty. What did you ship in the last 2 weeks? And so I just grabbed this from the What Did You Ship channel. If you haven't put stuff in the What Did You Ship channel, you definitely should. Anyways, I reviewed audiograms and I sent them to Kim. I reviewed the app and pushed it to prod. I updated support and filed all invoices, and that took me about 90 minutes. So a lot of different things there, but 1.5 BCard. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah, that does.
Okay, great. I also updated the Nouns proposal for 64 ETH based on feedback that I got from a bunch of Nouners, and I engaged a couple of whales who are part of this kind of break-even movement. So 1.5K BCard. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. Winverse shared and taped this week's All Hands. All right. I sent out in real life event funding and shared on all socials. BCard. I ran splits transactions and shared top contributor lists on all socials. 500 BCard. I ran the ops meet. 500 BCard. I ran the product meet on the previous Tuesday. 500 BCard. Tom fixed a hot fix for Homie's hanging bug. Pretty huge, Tom. That was a big fix. Thanks for doing that.
And, as soon as you get access to the data, right? Once you can find what the bug is, you can run it down.
Nice. All right. And one thing that's kind of new, but I thought it was worth doing, is to give 5,000. Well, I put Black Flag here, but yeah, 5,000 BCard, 5,000 Black Flag, whatever we're giving out right now, to Anti-Homie for going through the multi-week support process. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, that makes sense.
100%.
Vital role.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Love to hear it. I prepped and presented the Nouns prop at the weekly Nouns call yesterday. And just FYI, I'll be doing a similar thing tomorrow at the Nounsel call, which is a different group. But yeah, 1.5 BCard, does that make sense?
That sounds good.
All right. And 500 BCard for creating an event for Black Flag Collective, and the product weekly I held yesterday with Tom for 500 BCard. Yeah. So anything else that you ship, please toss it into the What Did You Ship channel, and I'll make sure that you get some BCard to your wallet, or rather, our Christy and I will both make sure. All right. Let's get into the retrospective now. So this one is for August 5th, or August 6th, rather. I wrote this yesterday. And we have our last retrospective here that we did on January 8th. Attendees, well, I'll just grab this list that I grabbed up here. Stick it in here. And just like to get us back on the same page about what a retrospective is, it's been kind of a long time since we did one. It's really just a tool, an agile project management tool, to help us improve continually. The goal for any team is to kind of improve continually, and the hope is that we keep getting better to the point where we're making really good things, right? So we really want to reflect on the time between now and January, and really try to identify opportunities for growth. We can talk about goals, things that went well, things that didn't go well, open questions, and ways to improve. And to get the most out of this, let's try to be honest and open. If you're wondering whether you should say something, the answer is yes. In general, all perspectives are valid and valuable. We're trying to capture all of them. And let's try to reserve judgment. So it's more about listening rather than talking about solutions. We will have some time for solutions at the end, but really what we're trying to avoid is that instinct to talk about potential solutions as someone is describing a problem. What we really want to do is kind of try to fully explore that problem if we can. Chances are, if you're feeling it, that someone else is feeling it, and they might be feeling it in a different way. But if we can find those kinds of connections, that is actually going to help us. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes, and careful what you wish for.
Okay. Well, we got
Yeah, that
some
makes
time,
sense.
so it's no worries. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Rose. All right. And so first we'll get into a little bit of alignment. This is just to get us on the same page. So this is kind of the way I look at software product development, validation, build for launch, build for fit. We're kind of here, but then at the same time, if we're looking at like the community site, we're kind of here, right? And so it's hard to say where we really are depending on what we're looking at. I would say that we're kind of iterating between these right now. And so I would say we're really more in build for fit. But we're trying to like launch this new product as well, so it's kind of we're in a strange state. But yeah, just this line we don't have to take too seriously right now. I think it's mainly for single software products, and we have multiple right now. On the top level metrics since last season, so over the last 8 months, we increased transaction volume by 13,000. And we have one of these are kind of lag metrics, our lead metrics. So we have about 4 weekly transacting users on the regular. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 8, right? And so I would say we have in general 4. And we have plus 22 users, so less than 1 new user a week. This despite the fact that we did add a couple communities, including Good Dollar, right? And so I would say that it is, it's slower than we might have hoped, right, over the last 8 months. We did create 2,000 in revenue for purpose-driven communities via Black Flag Collective. So we did get some funding from Bankless DAO to push that to send money out to these in real life groups, and that's still going. We've gotten out 2,000 so far, so not bad, not bad. And the themes from the last retro, which I linked from above. So we had some teammates step up, and that included from all parts of the org. We had onboarding new people, we had audiograms, we had some regulatory issues that we kind of worked through as a team. And so people really stepped up at the end of last year, and I think that was something that was called out by multiple people. There was also some improvement on the product. We had a couple new features, including the snapshot voting. We had our first 501(c) charity. So that was some pluses that we had. Another theme was that just better ways to get money onto the app. That kind of ACH only flow has been really difficult. We did look into Braille, and actually Braille has some new products to help us with this. I think getting better ways to get money on the app, that's one thing that we haven't solved. And the way that we're looking at it, I guess, like in the last 8 months was like, well, what if we didn't need money to use some of our tools? And that's why we started working on these community pages as well. How can we create more revenue for communities without being vultures? Well, one of the ways that we can do it is through these endowment funds, right? And so I think that is a good way to explore, but there are other ways that we can do this too. I think I was looking at a couple of these other platforms, and there's lots of potential ways that we can do that, but we didn't really look into it in the last 8 months other than our endowment funds. And it's hard to keep people motivated. So users, communities, and contributors had a lot of attention leaks. And so we need more attention hooks like free stuff, NFTs. So I think testing that Chippy execution at ETH Denver was kind of an example of that. We've talked about how we can utilize our token, giving it out to more people to kind of create that attention hook. We started doing things where we talk about the top contributors for the last week based on how much BCard they earned, and we've talked about sending people how we can send people POAPs easier, and so some things we've done, some things we've talked about, but that idea of keeping people motivated or engaged is another way to say it. That's something that we're exploring more now than we were, I would say, at the beginning of the year. Those are kind of the themes that we went into. And now here's the time when we can talk about the previous season. Once again, the way that we do things, things that went well, things that could be improved. I'll just open up the floor, and feel free to unmute and just call things out.
really good to look back and see how much we accomplished last year. That was to think about even where we come from the beginning and where we are now. We do have a lot to a lot to be thankful for, and a lot to look back on. We've achieved a fair amount. In terms of moving forward, I do agree this is a perfect time for a retrospective, because 8 months, maybe even a little bit long. If we continue doing these on a regular basis, maybe every 6 months would be better. But in terms of looking at the last 8 months, I would say the dev side has been consistent. Common links, you guys have been showing up consistently to lead multiple prongs of this effort, and then we have a really great community who's still contributing. Obviously, Arcusti, you are doing a lot in terms of finances and making sure things are running behind the scenes. We have people turning up to meetings and contributing every now and then, some writing going on. I agree, more NFTs and more rewards, more ways of interacting with people will be clutch in the success of this project. And there are so many ways that we can integrate, that process. But the more we look at that, I think I've kind of realized that the more I look at that, the more I miss the forest for the trees. I think the more important aspect of what we're doing here is one of the things that you mentioned. We have our first 501c3, and that's a pretty big thing that I think we should really be shouting from the rooftops a little more aggressively. Get the word out there that we're working with charities and we can help people with endowment funds, and rewarding community members, and hopefully get to the point where we're increasing engagement for those communities as well. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I agree that we should be I guess that idea of working with volunteer organizations. The hope is that we would get more of those as we went, to do more sales on that side, and it was just difficult. I guess because we had Rainus and a Thinker and Shelby and myself all kind of pitching in at some point, but we had no I guess consistent effort on that, just because life gets busy and it's not an easy job. And I agree that this is something that we could really be doing better. But yeah.
Yeah, my only major contribution was an AMA, and that went quite well. We did get some media that we could use afterwards, but obviously if we were hosting those on a consistent basis, then we would be generating content continually and engaging with more communities. So I don't know how I feel about that, hosting them. I can definitely help other people with the template and stuff, and I might want to host more AMAs in the future. I'm not totally opposed to it. I know how it kind of takes over my life, and I've got a lot of things that I'm juggling at the minute. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of contributions, I was wondering how maybe Rainus's network might be able to help us out a bit more again, because Andy was really good at producing content, and I'm sure those guys would be happy to get involved again. We just need to engage them. Thoughts?
Yeah. Sorry, just taking notes as we go. Yeah, I completely agree that they were great at it. It was just hard sometimes, I think, because they are also trying to make money themselves, and that was the difficult part, is that we, it was all volunteer. They were trying to improve their skills here, which I think is good, but then once they get good at something, it's are they going to be doing that thing for us? Maybe, or maybe they want to try something that they're not so good at that they want to get better at. So ultimately, I would love to have them around, but it goes back to the whole thing, how do we continue to engage our contributors? Maybe that's the maybe that's a difficult part. Like, should we be sending them BCard token and stuff like that? Maybe, like, probably we should, but I guess that historical accounting kind of becomes important in that regard, right? We can send out this kind of black flag token to them right now, or something like that. But yeah, like re-engaging them would be great. I think it's just I'm not sure of the best way to do it to ensure that they're getting what they need from us as well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And also, at that point in time when they were the most engaged, it was pretty much all still Bankless. And now that Bankless DAO has basically dissolved, people are finding homes in other places. So what is it that they want? I think they just want content distribution. They'd be happy with content distribution and magnifying their message, whatever that may be. Rap battles. Are they still? Oh, cat, get out of my tomatoes! Sorry. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, they're still doing their rap battles. Like every month, Reynes puts an event up on the Black Flag Collective.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's still doing those rap battles.
Yeah, so he probably just wants us to magnify that a little bit, and yeah, I'm sure they would get involved. I don't know if Andy is still off in Singapore, though.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, he went to Singapore, and I haven't heard from him since then.
So, yeah, that could work. Get Reynes re-engaged, and then it's really a case of just trying to find more charities. And things for charities are tougher nowadays than they have been because there's a lot more oversight into how funds are spent than there may have been. I think the whole Doge thing has scared a lot of people into keeping tighter books. So that might be harder to raise money currently through 501c3s. But if we find the right partner and offer the right tools, maybe they'll push it and use it. So I think that's definitely the right avenue to keep exploring.
Yep, agreed. Anyone else have some things? I mean, I'll bring up one thing. I think that one thing that we can improve. I think the crypto industry in general right now. I just like the people who are in this space right now. I don't think I necessarily feel like I'm after the same things as them. Does that make sense? Like I think that during the heyday of Bankless DAO, I definitely felt that there were people who came here for change, and that there was some realities with that. That like, hey, you got to you still got to eat, right? Like you still got to make money and stuff like that. But I think like the people who are left in the industry, like it's a lot of like, let's say VC-backed companies and stuff like that, and less like purpose-driven communities. Does that make sense? You feel that?
Does it feel like you're surrounded by pros rather than amateurs?
Yeah.
Good point, Tom.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I remember. Sorry, I was just gonna say. I remember walking around the conference at what was it? We were at Permissionless together, and thinking about the difference between those who felt like they were there with an amateur vibe, with there for like the love of whatever it was that they loved, and then there was those professionals where it felt like they were there, to make a buck. And it's an interesting difference just between the two. I think in terms of general mindset, the way that the industry is approached. But I think you're right that it feels to me like when I look at outbound, it's like 90% marketing outbound. So rather than it used to be felt like it was more like 50-50, where people were just like cool experiments, like neat tech, like very interesting stuff coming down the pipeline. And now it just feels like marketing, like largely. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. Like it always feels like, there's another chain or another L2, and they have their decks and they have their prediction market, and they have like a couple of things, and those are just the things that are being sold, right? Like everyone's trying to do the same things again, like replicate the similar things. Anyways, the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's also the reason we're working on these community pages and really I don't want to say hiding the crypto aspect, but it's not like I'd rather treat crypto like a database rather than treat crypto like a benefit, right? Like the benefit is to the developers, to us. And the benefit isn't to the user yet. Does that make sense? Like it's like we are not aiming at that existing crypto industry.
Yeah, I think I often think of it as a tool, whereas I think some people treat it like a religion. It's more like you know, I like the hammer that we have or whatever, but I'm not gonna I'm not worshiping it.
Yeah, I feel you. Arcus, did you have something to say? I see that you unmuted.
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say, like, on the stuff that went well, I would say, like, being involved in the what did you ship initiative, and I guess kind of like how that ties into putting together, like, the more things that we're trying to do, which is like putting together, processes, infrastructures, or whatever that can be used by communities to kind of help drive them forward. So, you know, that kind of countered with the uh, uh, looming task of the uh, old like all the old rewards and stuff that that still need to be fixed, uh, like dealt with or cleaned up. But I mean, I think it's just uh, putting together the it's so it's like a simple process that doesn't take much time, but it's you know we review what people do every week, and there's sort of an incentive to kind of get your name on the board, and there's probably more things that we can do to like enhance that, and maybe like going forward, there's some kind of like rewards or whatever, that like a NFT or something that can be given out for uh specific like things that people achieve on something like a what did you ship. Like I'm thinking, like, maybe NFT for top contributor, or uh like like community member that helped out, like, for example, anti homies thing. So just it's like small stuff to like give people visibility, but it's reoccurring, and uh, hopefully encouraging to get people to participate, and then that's like something that can be used by other groups as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And if you bring this back to that kind of like community feeling that we're trying to impart in people, like that idea that like you want to be appreciated for the efforts you're putting in, our ability to do these things fast, quickly, easily, that means that we're building the same kind of tools that we want other people to use, and that means that we can create that community feeling in people faster, right? So like, hey, before it took us months to get like quote unquote token to people, and we just never even really did, right? But now we're sending token to people on a weekly basis, and that's definitely an improvement. So we had to. Part of it was Tom creating the token. Part of it was Arkusti like putting that creating that spreadsheet and putting it up into splits every week. And part of it is like is us just like having that whole like what did you ship as part of the process in our weekly meeting. But like just that kind of process, that those tools that we created enabled us to move a lot faster. So I completely agree with you. Enabled us to create that feeling.
Yeah, and I think that there's like so many other things that can be done like that kind of like are small things, but they like help uh like I guess just like moving communities forward.
Yeah, I agree. Like a thing that actually like a way for us to take like a an hour process and turn it into a 15-minute process is probably like right about the level that we're at, right? Because this is like if it's like a small community with one person who's doing the bulk of the work, that 45 minutes of saved time is worth way more to them than like maybe something else that could save a higher amount of time total, but like not like for a single member community. It's not as appreciated. It's appreciated more in a single member community.
Yep.
Anyone else have any thoughts?
I do, but I'm going to wait unless
Oh, how come?
other people have something to say. Well, I don't think you're going to like what I have to say.
All the more reason to say it now.
I think there's still confusion. Well, not just confusion. The Black Flag Collective versus the Black Flag DAO and its staking pool. And then I think a lot of the people that are aware of both organizations and projects might have funds or things locked up in one or the other or both. And I'm one of them. And I'm not just talking about myself, but I am currently unmotivated to do any work. And it's because of a stalemate, and it's not your fault. But that stalemate needs to be resolved, which is whether it's reimbursing people who have hard costs that they haven't been paid for yet. I'm specifically talking about Mantis Clone with Request Network, and I specifically mention him because Request Network is a payments processor in the crypto industry. And if you want to piss off them, go ahead. These are people, the kind of people we want to work with. They're upstanding folks. And if we create bad blood with the people that are both upstanding and may have, I hate to make it transactional, but connections and influence, we're fucking ourselves. And so we can't keep rugging people. We can't rug ourselves, and we can't pretend like the past doesn't exist. And we need to get that resolved, whether we like it or not. And I don't think we can move forward on any of this stuff until we get that thing resolved.
Sure. I mean, just so you know, Dros, like I put up a transaction to get everyone paid like 3 weeks ago.
I know you did.
Yeah, and then I also put up like a spreadsheet to like resolve that issue and to try to get some consensus around resolving it. And so far, I haven't heard anything back.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that needs to be resolved. And one of the people that's on that multi-sig is also on the Black Flag Collective pool here. That's one of the multi-signers, and I don't want to be a part of it if that person is not going to respond. So I'm that's where I'm at right now, and I'm not lifting a finger until that shit gets resolved. Sorry. And I'm specifically talking about people being paid for their out-of-pocket expenses. Bug Dragunov, Mantis Clone, Hero Canelli, Above Average Joe, if he hasn't been paid for Notion yet. These people need to be paid, and they need to be paid right now. So
I guess while you've brought up the topic, and all of us here have a vested interest. Link, since you're on the multi-sig, who are you not able to talk to some people? Are you in touch with Synod? Are you in touch with iSchool?
Yeah, so I've talked to both of them about it. They haven't signed the transactions.
Okay.
So the people who've so there's like 3 transactions up right now. Of those, I think one has 3 signatures, one has 2 signatures, and one has 1 signature. Oh no, rather, yeah, yeah. One has one signature.
which is your signature, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. And so,
And
like
have you
even
signed any of the other ones? You signed the
I signed
rejected
all
for the.
of them. I
You
signed
signed
all
all.
of the signatures. Yeah, yeah. Like there's all I've signed them all based on my the way that I feel. I've encouraged all the multi signers to sign theirs as well. At least make a decision.
Mm,
I've reached out to literally all of them.
yeah.
So like early in the year, this was something I was trying to do, and I was getting very frustrated about. And I said we need to have an election right away. And this was the reason that I stopped contributing at Bankless DAO, right? It was because I couldn't move forward on any front, right? So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised that this is happening, but I'm also not gonna tie um, tie like other things that I'm actually enjoying with to this negative thing. So I disagree with those that we can't move forward. I totally understand your point.
Well, I have to tie it together because part of the funding of this project comes from Bankless
It's
DAO.
from and that's the events
Yeah.
funding. And that was something that was pushed through the DAO, and like I mean, it's as a
Yeah.
legitimate vote as anything else because it went to Snapshot, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or not?
It did. I think like the funding for Black Flag Collective, like the expectation is that goes to a bunch of different wallets now, and so people can decide to pull out if they want, right? Like that's the plan. Like all of the funds, like including the ones that are in the Black Flag Collective, are
Mhm.
potentially going to be dispersed, right? And potentially everyone
Mhm.
could say like, no, we don't want to do this anymore. We're gonna opt out. That's going to be individual's choice. So yes, the funding for the in real life events will be my plan is to disperse it um to bank and TL bank holders. But yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So I don't know, Dross. I don't know if this answers any of your
Well,
questions.
Dross,
Obviously,
No, it
we want
doesn't.
to get
It's
Mantis. We
unresolved,
want to get Mantis
and
clone
and and
paid.
and it's a
yeah.
black cloud hanging over all of this. And
Well, Joseph,
I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that are involved in both projects or ancillary to it that know people involved with it, and I don't think having this bad blood going forward with people not being paid or being ignored. And I'm not saying that it's your responsibility, but the stink is on you whether you like it or not, and it's on all of us, frankly. And I I have a hard time with all of it, and I'm still contributing. I've been contributing for years now, and not only losing money, not only not being paid, but also losing. And that's why I don't want to turn this into a negative bitch fest, but I wanted to address something that's an elephant in the room, and it needs to be addressed one way or another. Those people need to be paid, and if I pay them myself, and frankly, if you're willing to return my donation to Black or to BCard, I will pay them myself out of that. But I am not going to put more money into this to make other people whole. But I am trying to help people. I know you are too, and I can't continue to put energy into that. Nor can I contribute new energy, knowing that that is still unresolved. And any new contributions, I don't know. I don't feel that that my time and my effort and my life energy is well spent doing this when when they say the definition of insanity is when you keep repeating the same thing expecting different results. We keep getting the same results. People keep putting in a lot of work and time and energy and effort and not getting rewarded or paid or reimbursed for their work, and I'm tired of it.
yep, I agree with you, Jose. Like I think it's a valid feeling, and like,
So I'll just
as I
stop
said
there.
before, yeah, I
But
think
you
like
know the issue. We all know the issue. Arkusti, I know he's a gentleman and a scholar. He's generally pretty quiet. He's been in a lot of these meetings too. He's been a fly on the wall. If you want to talk to him and ask him his point of view, you can do that. He hasn't talked to me about it, but he has been a fly on the wall in a lot of these meetings where I've been speaking, and some of the other players have been involved. So if you two maybe want to have a conversation and get his, I don't want to pressure either of you, by the way. I just wanted to let you know that if you're looking for a very independent third-party voice that's been there, if Richard's willing to say anything to you privately, but I can't keep doing this. So I'll stop there, and I will finish that thing I promised you. So one of the things I am interested in is OMF, because I think what they're doing is super important. I'll just flip this to something very positive. So, we look at these things and why people are interested and why they're passionate, why they're willing to contribute energy and time. It's because it's something that's important to them. What does OMF do? They are addressing things that can be very real, very personal, very emotional with people. So I think that's something we can tap into on many levels. So I'll flip it back around to something positive, but I do think that these other things need to be addressed, and that's been bothering me for a very long time. And I need to get that off my chest, and it's off my chest now. So I'm done with that. But I'm not done with it if people aren't getting paid. So I will keep haranguing people. And if I need to go, I do have a podcast, and I try not to be mean. But I've had a pod that is a roundtable conversation about challenges in DAOs and using case studies. I'm ready to use Black Flag DAO as a case study, and I have no problem talking about that. And so if people want to participate and give their point of view, and fine. Otherwise, I'm going to call shit for what it is. I'm not doing it right now, but I'm just thinking, if this can't get resolved, I'm going to do what other people do: is take to the airwaves and see if we can get something done that way.
Yeah, I think you should do that regardless of whether or not it gets resolved, because I think it would be interesting regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, if it helps getting resolved, that helps as well. Would it help if we took iSchool off of that Black Flag collective multisig?
Sure would. That's
Okay.
one step in the right direction, but he needs to respond.
Okay. I would also like for him to respond, but I can't control him, right? There are things I can control. I'm going to try to concentrate on those. That's one thing I can do, is take them off of that multi-sig at least, right?
And speaking of that multi-sig, how many people? There's only 2 on it right now, right? It's you and
there's only 2.
nice.
It's
cool. So we need to think about that.
Yeah.
Maybe you and Richard and Tom, or
well, I wouldn't want to make it a 2. I wouldn't want to make it a 2-3, because then it's going to take, it's going to be much more annoying to run the monthly thing, which already takes me like an hour or so. But I was thinking I would replace iSchool with Tom, and then we could, because the intent is to upgrade that kind of functionality that we have there. And so if we can make it easier, then we can make it easier for other groups to have like 2-3s and stuff right now as well.
Right.
But yes.
Because one of the things I've learned about multi-sigs is that you can't force it to do anything, even if there's an agreed upon action to occur. So there needs to be a new way to figure out these things in DAO treasuries or in
we give the money
Web3.
out every that multi-sig in particular. Yeah, it's like we give them out money out every month, so we try not to hold a balance. We have a very small balance, right? But it's to enable us to be able to send stuff out every month.
No, I
right?
get it, but conceptually, it's a problem, as I've learned.
Like our real, I agree. Like our real multi-sig has me, NF Thinker, and Samantha Marin on it. And so that's what we have for that. They're also directors on our Panama Foundation. So those people are all named in some way. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think we need new ways to do these things. Like, one of the things I want to bring up, because I think it's relevant from what you just said, is that I think like the idea that you can expect people to do things just because it's like it always has happened before or something like that. I don't think that that's a good expectation in an adversarial environment like crypto, right? Like, I think what's a better way to do multi-sigs? And I think that it's more about creating these independent entities that can decide what they do, and working and essentially like having a relationship between those two entities to benefit both of those entities. So each entity can do whatever they want, right? That I think is a better path forward than trying to string together a bunch of, like, let's say, words on a constitution, and hey, we have to follow this because it's on a constitution. I mean, we've found out that that's not really, like, when the chips come down, that's not really what happens. I mean, you could even say the same is happening in the U.S., right? Like, just because something's written on the constitution doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to follow it. So I do think that when we're thinking about how to set up communities, especially purpose-driven communities for success, we need to think about not don't be evil, but instead can't be evil. I think Chris Dixon said that, like, can't be evil is better than don't be evil. And I think that we really need to take that to heart.
Yeah, and it's funny because Chris Dixon was with A16Z.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, it's who are, let's say, known for taking advantage.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
yeah,
thanks
Read,
for
write, own.
hearing that.
yeah,
Yeah, read, write, own. I mean, that's all part of it, right? We have to help empower sovereign, permissionless relationships.
yeah. You're very mumbly right now. Is your microphone hidden or something?
Maybe, I don't know. I've got my headphones in. Is that any better?
You sound good now. Yeah, you sound good now.
Okay. So we don't want to enable terrorists and criminal groups, etc., but we want to empower people to have sovereign relationships between their communities and not have to put trust into an individual who's going to renege on their responsibilities or not sign a transaction or and that's kind of what I'm taking from this conversation. And I know that's not the entirety of it, but that's kind of how I feel around the idea of self-sovereignty and permissionlessness, that you're not held hostage or held captive by either a corporation or a nation or another individual.
Yes, and on top of that, like, that entities are independent enough that they can continue functioning without that kind of, like, let's say, core root entity. Like, the whole way that we set up BCard was so that we didn't need Bankless DAO. Like, it was set up as an independent entity. Like, some people, when we were first looking for grants and stuff, were like, hey, we should do this and we should do that. Like, we should create, like, a closer tie to the community. And it was really important to me that we made it independent. And you can kind of see, like, out of all the groups at Bankless DAO, very few continued on, right? Like, it's pretty much us and I guess Crypto Sapiens, but not really. And I guess, like, Bankless Academy, but not really. Like, that's kind of it. Like, there's not much else. And I think, like, it's because all of those groups were independent. They all were aiming to be independent from the get-go. They set up their structure to be independent from the get-go, and they didn't tie themselves too closely to that kind of, like, home community. And you can see the result. Those entities still exist, and other entities that were, like, very closely tied don't anymore. And so I think it's really important when we're thinking about that for ourselves, right? Like, even if you look at the way we set up Black Flag Collective, it has a separate multi-sig. It has, like, like, if BCard was gone overnight, we could still run Black Flag Collective if we wanted to. It is an independent enough entity that it can run on its own. And I think that that's the kind of, let's call it, mindset that we need to really start thinking about as we're working with these communities, is how do we set up something independent so that they can continue on even without us, right? That's why we're looking at things like IPFS hosting, instead of hosting it all on GitHub pages or something like that, right? We're looking at the ability to be independent. Any other pluses or deltas that we want to talk about for the last 8 months?
We're still here.
Yep. That's a good one.
Amen to that.
And I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. I just got a notice like a week ago from Juno I'm sure most of you are familiar with Juno and its shutdown notice. And they've been having a hell of a time between Evolve Bank and, gosh, I forget the other organization that's the deadbeat. But they've been trying to reconcile these statements because what the other company has been sending them has been wrong. And anyway, it's been a nightmare trying to close out those accounts between the crypto side of it, and then they had a banking side. It just goes to show how critically important that accounting is, and making sure client statements are correct. And man, they've really gotten themselves into a mess. And so many of those projects like that have shut down. And these are pretty well funded things with VC backed or whatever. So this is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to consider, that you take a look at all of the money that gets allocated to a lot of these projects, and at the end of the day, like we might look at it and think that it means success for them that they got that money or whatever, but money doesn't equal resiliency, and money doesn't equal success in the long run, I don't think. So it's interesting that something can be an independent force, whether money or not is the driver.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It takes it takes more than money to be successful, right? Like that is like, let's say, in many cases, just one step on the journey. It enables you to move faster, but it doesn't necessarily enable you to find that sustainable place to be. In fact, when you get money, a lot of the times it comes with strings that kind of avoid you taking the sustainable route. Like as soon as you take VC money, you can't be like, okay, we're going to save this money we're going to use this money over 10 years. They're like, no, you must deploy it within 18 months.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty bad problem to have. Here, take all this money, go spend it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
right?
it can be a trap,
A lot of people who raised money in the zero interest rate phenomena, and then they went to raise money again, basically they got wiped out, right? Because they didn't save, they weren't able to save the money. They didn't want to save it. They were encouraged not to save it. And so when it came time around for them to raise another round, and they couldn't do it because there was a recession going on, they were shit out of luck, right? They just had to close down shop.
Yeah, I had a friend who raised 10 million right before COVID, and they did this huge installation on Fifth Avenue in downtown New York, and they built this like Willy Wonka rosé wine exhibit, and it was the second year running. The first year they did well enough to get VC interest, and they opened the day that lockdown started in New York. So basically, it just wiped them out completely. And the VC was like, "Hold the money. We'll see if we can do something with it afterwards." And then I don't know what deal they had to come to, but VCs they do take a lot of risk, and sometimes they understand that it's all going to be lost, and they're going to make it big on the next one. So, put the money to good use, get it out there.
Yeah.
What did you say?
That's the mindset. I said, yeah, VCs have that mindset, but they're looking at like 10 companies, and if yours fails, that's fine. It's okay, right? But like for you, that's a lot more important that your company doesn't fail, right?
Absolutely. So here we are. As Joe says, we're still here.
Exactly. It's more worth it for them for you to take a risk, right? And non-risky founders aren't really great founders for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed as well is that it seems like we lost some steam in the summer. Not necessarily a bad thing, but just something worth note. I definitely think that we did lose some steam in the summer. And I am one of the main reasons for this. I feel like it's been more difficult for me to get stuff done on a regular basis. That being said, I do think that like it's nice with the what did you ship, that it's a lot more obvious, right? Like in the past, we had these kind of like role salaries, which I was never a big fan of, but we kind of did because there was just like so much to do, and we didn't want to do that accounting. But now it's a lot more clear what people are and are not doing, and I think that that's a very good thing, that transparency.
Well, I have one thing, links that could be, will
Yeah.
possibly be improved. The percentage of like cash back that community, I should say cash back or whatever, rewards back that the communities get is really low, you know, and it's hard to push that percent. And even just a freaking Amazon card, you get 5% back. You know, we're giving a fraction of a percent, right? Which is nothing,
Mhm.
pennies. So it's pretty hard to talk to nonprofits or even like approach it.
That is the biggest issue at hand. Absolutely. +1.
Yeah, I agree. It's the biggest issue. It's why I think that we started working more on that engagement piece. It's just that we were finding when talking to communities that the cashback just wasn't an incentive enough to get them excited. And so I completely agree with you. I think that we need, I think that like, so the long and short of it is that the ways that we can improve that are non-trivial. One, we can pay $10,000 a month to like load up on a card and get the full kind of cash back. But even then, you're only getting like maximum 2%, right? And so it's no Amazon card, which comes with it comes with 5%, but you have a maximum, and it comes with like a lot of hidden fees and stuff like that. So that's difficult. You're absolutely right. And the second thing is we could get more users, but how do we get more users if we don't have a way to engage them? So that's why we started working on the engagement. I definitely think that percentage of cashback is not good enough. Like there's not enough value there for communities. But yeah, let's. I agree with you. One thing that may be sometimes hard to remember, but I think that like the idea, one thing that I think that we did well, the idea that crypto shouldn't be seen by users, I think that that's really served us well. I think that voting mechanism that we have in the BCard app is better than 90% of voting mechanisms on that you see on chain right now. And the reason is that it's just super easy. Now, that being said, it's worse than probably 90% of the Web2 voting mechanisms you see, but it's still better than a lot of the Web3 mechanism ones that you see. So I do think that mindset around, hey, the users they don't care about crypto, they care about the benefit of that they're getting. I think that has served us well, and it's another reason why we're looking at these community pages is because we think we can build those tools a little bit more effectively in that environment. But yeah. Any other pluses or deltas that we want to bring forward?
I would also +1 what you just said there. I think a lot of the important work being done in crypto is obfuscating the term or the knowledge to interact with crypto, right? Just take away all the difficult parts of crypto and let it do its thing under the hood. People who want to utilize the benefits of crypto can push it as far as they want, but the real consumer apps, they're not even going to talk about it at all, right? It's going to be, there's a term I'm looking for. I can't remember the word I'm looking for off the top of my tongue. But it is, yeah, it's important to abstract. That's the word I'm looking for. Abstract away the crypto as much as possible. And we're doing a good job of that. So +1 there. Delta, I can't really speak to team deltas because I'm not engaged enough to know what those really are. but again, I'll just double down on in terms of Tom's response time for the app side, links, your ability, your continued ability to interact with all of our customers, all of our card holders, and still go out there and do stuff to represent BCard. So, overall, I'd say you two have been a main feature for this 2025. And again, big shout out, of course, to Arcusti for all the all the financial work. And obviously, Winverse, you show up every single week to record this and get it out in a timely manner. And yeah, Shelby Drost, you two are here continually. And there are, a lot of shout outs to be had, really, because some people haven't shown up in a couple of months, but they've been active with us for such a long time. I would like to actually shout out all of the people who trusted in this project. Drost, you mentioned your donation to BCard. I think we had 20. How many people did we have in total? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think we had
19?
roughly 20, yeah, something like around 20.
Yeah, so thanks so much to all those people who've trusted us along the way here. And with regards to Black Flag DAO, Bankless DAO, I think Bankless DAO was set up to fail, really, with two people at the helm who didn't actually want to run it. It was started by them, and they kind of just sort of handed it off and pulled the pin. Let's see what happens here. And so that, it's not surprising that Bankless DAO ended up as it did. We didn't have the direction to even form a legal foundation. The mission became muddled. There were rugs happening. People were, extracting money from other community members and the community itself. So yeah, there were a lot of problems with Bankless DAO from the start. It doesn't negate the connections that we made, or the projects that have come out of it, like this one. The connections is what it's all about, the network effect. You can still go on and see CRM. I believe that might still be there. I don't know how much longer it'll be there, but there's a lot of connections there that had been made, that you can filter through, and you might know some people, or if you're looking to reach out to people. Anyway, that's a super tangent right there. But yeah, just to say, I think we've done well to make it this far, and I'm excited to see what the future brings.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good segue to just close it off, since we're a bit over. I did mention that there's a bit of lag in the summer. I don't think that's a bad thing, as we kind of rest and recuperate and reflect, right? I think that that's potentially a good thing. One of the things that Tom and I talked about was that we're trying to set up a situation where we can figure out what that kind of net new behavior that crypto drives is, right? And so if you have, there are kinds of a couple of net new behaviors that crypto has created. So for instance, cross-border payments, not really a net new behavior, but it democratized the ability to send money across the world. And that has created an industry around it. And that's very interesting. The ability to buy stable coins as well. Hey, it was really difficult to get US dollars when you were in Argentina before, but now you can do it with a few clicks, right? And so that, I think, is net new behavior. And so what is that net new behavior for communities? What is that net new behavior for creators? Well, we want to put ourselves into a situation where we can experiment and try and see if we can figure that out, because I think that is really what the promise of crypto is that it will put power into the hands of individuals. And I think that we have not figured out how that works for communities yet. We talked a little bit about how that could go wrong in communities over the last couple of minutes, right? And so I think the challenge that I'm putting to us is, how can that go right? What is it that's going to make things different? How would we set up a community having already been through some of these hard times ourselves? These are the questions that we're asking ourselves so that we can try to figure out a way to set up that net new behavior, to set up that kind of thing that can't be done anywhere else with any other technology. That's what we're aiming to do here. It's really how this project started. Was I mean, it's in our founding documents, right? To bridge the gap between Web3 and the real world. I think that idea of the real world is something that we sometimes take for granted. It's something, it's in the Black Flag Collective, right? Those in real life events. But how else do we want to feel that in our everyday lives? When you pay for something, right now you're going through a middleman. When you go and get a driver's license, right now you kind of have like several middlemen who are verifying your identity. So like that idea that you have to kind of go through a middleman, that you have to do some of these things, that is all ripe for us to potentially improve. And I'm not saying necessarily that we're going to be the ones to improve it, but I do think that us creating a situation where we can explore, well, that is something that makes me very intellectually interested. And I'm glad that there are other people around me who want to do that same thing, because that to me is the change that I want to be in the world. And just having people around helps me do that in a way that I think is possible. So to be clear, we're in it for the long run. We're trying to set up a situation where we can actually experiment and have fun doing what we're doing. It's a reason why we're doing What Did You Ship? It's a reason why we're creating these community channels. It's a reason why we're concentrating on what's next. And I think that is something that I'm really grateful to have you all around here with me to do it. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for contributing. And yeah, I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Lynx, and everyone else.
Thanks to you, Lynx. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks for
Thanks, everyone.
everything. Willing to listen.